So I'll count it off.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
Just let's go.
1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the rehearsal room. Nick here.
Aaron here.
And before we start in our conversation, a couple of things. We have a few corrections to make from our last episode. Aaron, if you could take it away.
No problem. Real quickly, just wanted to make sure that some of the things we were talking about on the last podcast, I looked it up mainly because there were interesting questions. Who was in the the Hall of Fame and not? So just to be absolutely sure. Turns out, thankfully, Deep Purple is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and should have been.
Yep.
I had said that I believed Iggy Pop was, and so were the Stooges. Turns out, no Iggy, just the Stooges.
Which, kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, though, I mean, Stooges is a good step. It is his band first, then you go to the solo, sure. So at least, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And one of the questions you asked was the Monkees in?
Yeah.
And the Monkees are not. And as I did look up, Michael Nesmith has written to them, does not think they should be in. It's his opinion only. But
of course, yeah.
Another thing I wanted to update, one of the things you brought up was the fan voting. Right. And I told you I was not really sure on that fan voting. So, article came out talking about where the fans are voting. So, as a background, the fan vote itself technically will only count as one vote. So, ultimately, you go online, you vote for your 5 or 6 favorite ones. Or you can vote for all of them, probably. But the top 5 or 6 will only count. So, as it says here, the fan vote up to 7 artists once a day until April 21st at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's official website. The fan votes are combined to make one ballot, which will be tallied along with the 1,200 others. As it stands right now, unfortunately, Fish seems to be ahead of the bunch by quite a large margin also. They have over 100,000 votes already.
So, this is weird for me to hear. What the hell, folks? Like, how are there so many goddamn Fish fans out there?
Well, what do they have better to do? Maybe Fish isn't touring, so they're just on the computer.
I thought all their fans were at their shows already, and they didn't know that one show had ended and the other one started or something.
They probably don't even know where deodorant is. How do they have a computer?
Well, this is also true.
But yes.
But this is also the band that the blues lawyers kind of come in from, right? The jam guys.
Again, I mean, they are, one thing you would definitely say about their fans is loyal. Like, they're in it. They're in it. Oh, yeah. Nobody's, I'm sure there'll be that one guy, but there are very few, like a couple Fish songs. Right. They're all the same Fish songs. So if you like one, you're probably in it to win it. So to me,
yes.
And then look, good on their fans. They're that loyal that they showed up to the website, Right. Behind them, very far behind them, too. Again, technically 101,157 votes so far. Billy Idol's in second place with 58,000. It's a very large margin between the two, to say the least. Soundgarden right behind him with 57,000. Cyndi Lauper with 50. Bad Company with 47. Joe Cocker with 47. Chubby Checker with 42.
Wait, 42 votes? 42,000.
Okay. I'm sorry, these are all thousands. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, 42 would be right, but unfortunately it's 42,000. Yeah. I didn't know he had that many relatives.
Yeah. Right.
The Black Crowes are leading the back half with 39,000. Mariah Carey behind them with 36. Outkast with 35,000. Oasis with 32,000. Joy Division New Order with 31,927. And the White Stripes with 31,055. And unfortunately, taking up the very rear and way lower
is Mana
with 12,000.
I have thoughts. It all sucks.
Yeah.
I do think Mana being the representative of like rock en español, it's I know they're kind of in it to show the like, hey, we're all inclusive in this.
Yeah.
I do think there are other deserving bands.
Sure.
You know, bands that maybe hit the public a little bit more emotionally, or that people feel stronger about.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because they're more of like the I don't want to say corporate rock en español band, but they're definitely the one that
More mainstream.
more
would you say?
mainstream.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, these numbers are amazing.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from our listening perspective.
I mean, what happened to all the fucking goth kids, all the post-punk kids, you know, all the sad boys, sad girls, sad everybody else that likes New Order and Joy Division? Like,
yeah. Well, and it does, to some degree, it does skew to an older audience, right? The older bands seem to be getting more votes. I think older fans care more about this sort of thing than younger fans. I think
Agreed.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to some, is an old man institution for a lot of younger people.
We're talking about Joy Division.
Yeah, no,
know?
I again, you would think, especially in the music climate we're in now, that influence would get kids. But again, maybe these kids just don't give a shit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know?
Honestly, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, right?
I am more bummed, once again, when it comes to this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like we discussed in the last episode.
Right.
I am more bummed as a fan, not as a, oh no, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame loses
Right.
something. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
It's just a bummer to see. We talked in the last one, you talked me into the White Stripes even going in. It's a shocker to see they're second and last.
Yeah.
As good as Mana is, I'm not overly surprised they're in last, only because despite it trying to be international, and I do believe they are trying,
Yeah.
it's still an American institution. So how many Americans go online and are going to vote for that sort of thing? You know what I mean? So I do understand to some degree, although the disparity between the White Stripes and their voting is really weird. Now, who knows? There could be a late surge. All of a sudden, some others, who knows?
Hey, I'm just saying, if there's any rockeros out there that are listening and you remotely like Mana, just
Right.
throw in a vote.
Absolutely, yeah. It
Support
costs you,
the homies.
costs you nothing. You go to you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's you look for fan vote, and you can rock and roll. You can, and again, you can do it every day up until the due date, which I think I said was April 12th. So, I mean, every day, wake up and, just first thought, maybe take a piss, get a little coffee, then boom, right into the vote for your favorite bands. You know what I mean? Try to skew these a little bit more.
Yeah, let's make it a little realistic.
Right. Don't make it easy for Fish.
Oh, them and Bad Company. Come on.
I mean,
keep Bad
it's
Company.
pretty ridiculous.
And Billy Idol, I like some of his songs.
Again, to be in second place out of all those artists, I don't even think he'd be second in my rotation of a mixtape. So,
even on a jukebox.
Yeah.
Like his CD would be spotless, whereas everything else would be scratched because it's played so much.
Yeah. So, just as an update, guy, we were just talking, obviously this was our last episode. I happened to see that article that explained the fan vote. That was a question we had that I did not look into. And I thought it was interesting to see how those numbers kind of skewed. So I figured I'd update everyone that listened to the last one and then Nick himself.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So second little thing, you might hear it. I am dealing with a bit of a cold at the moment. So occasionally, because we don't have cough buttons, you'll hear me turn to the side and kind of blow my brains out. But yeah, so aside from that,
yes,
today we are going to deal with lyrics and music. Which is more important to you, the listener?
Yeah.
So
something I've seen people discuss from time to time, like what's more important. And again, it's not to take away from one or another. It's just to say, what is it that you find matters the most to you as a listener? For me, I would have to say that my opinion has always been the same, which is I think that lyrics are a great cherry on top of a delicious sundae. It's not to say they aren't important. It's just to say I like instrumental music. They don't have any lyrics. And it's to say that the music is the part that is always going to draw me in. I've never met the person who says, I really love what he's saying, even though I hate the song, so I'm going to keep listening. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but the reason too I wanted to bring it was because obviously I am speaking with someone, for those who may not know, Nick himself writes lyrics. He's been in many bands and is usually the primary lyric writer in those bands. So obviously I would think his take to some degree might be a little more personal. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it, because I always find it interesting.
Yeah, so, obviously I will probably favor lyrics as being the main grabber for me. In instrumental bands, obviously that changes because I can't focus on that. But yeah, lyrics kind of have always been a thing that make the song mean a little bit more. It cements the song in my psyche as something that I keep coming back to. Whatever I find, whether it's an emotional grasp or just something reactionary where I listen to it, and the lyric, of course, combined with the music, just makes it pop out that much more,
I feel you.
Plus, of course, I tend to pay attention to a lot of vocalists, and I can't pay attention to vocalists without knowing what they're singing about, right?
Good point, yeah.
So, that's kind of where I come from. Are there any examples of like lyrics that you think might grab you before anything? Because I've certainly got music that grabs me first.
When you say that, something that comes to my mind as I'm sitting here thinking about it would be like hip hop.
Okay.
Hip hop for me, 9 times out of 10 is the beats. It's about what that sound. I want to hear that first. Is that grabbing me? There are many rappers who, for instance, I can't think of his name. He looks like a gremlin from used to be with Birdman and all those guys. And, his voice is absolutely annoying.
Yeah.
People will say he's one of the great lyricists of all times. Fine. Don't care. He literally has ruined songs for me. Where I fucking love the song, and then he comes in, and I go, God, Jay-Z is another one. I know he's a talented lyricist. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. His rhyme schemes, so on and so forth. But I've never heard anything that makes me want to keep listening to him beyond probably 5 or 6 songs.
Right.
Whereas someone like Tupac, I love the sound of his voice. I love the way he enunciates the things. Sure. The inflection in his voice. Sure. So what he's saying is obviously important because the man is writing songs where he wants people to, hear what he's saying. But that right away, I don't know it right away. And let's be honest, in case you couldn't tell by my voice, I'm just a white kid from the suburbs. So there's plenty of lyrics and lingo used in hip hop that this white kid just has no idea. So those things don't grab me right away. But with like what you're saying, I think that's where it comes to me. There's certainly tonal stuff where it's not the words, it's just the way it hits my ear. I mean, I'm a huge Hank Williams fan. I love Hank Williams. I mean, I've literally played it at my work where people look at it like, good Lord, what is that singing? Is that singing? And I'm just like, I don't know, dude, but he is touching my heart. So that's your loss.
It's funny that you mentioned like the hip hop and the rap because, I like a lot of stuff from, late 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Whenever I would come up on stuff like that, they've got beats and they've got, the lines and everything. But what first kind of hooked me was their delivery, which always made me think, I wonder what they're saying.
I feel, oh, for sure.
And then once I found out, even if I couldn't relate to it, it made the song that much stronger once I found out.
And this is something I will definitely say. Perhaps maybe the better way, as I'm thinking about it, is the bait is the music.
Sure.
The hook might be, ironically, the hook. If it's a song, or it is to say, and you're not wrong there. Like, to some degree, there are many songs that I love, but I've begun to love even more as I understood the lyrics and understood what that person was trying to get across. You're right; it can seep deeper. You can feel it more. I definitely agree with you there. I even hesitate to use. Thinking about it. It's not about necessarily importance because that. I don't mean to demean one or the other. You know what I mean? It's just to say, like, what is the thing that hooks you right away? But you're right. Looking deeper into a lyric is a way to get deeper into a song. Someone like yourself as a musician, I would imagine, like, where, how does he get that tone? What pedal is he using? Or what bass does he have? You know what I mean? Like, it's all that, and that deeper connection to a song. But you're not wrong, I guess. It's just to say, for me, because I've never been torn in a way that says, God, I really love what that dude's saying, but I cannot stand the music. I've yet to find that for myself. You know what I'm saying?
That's an interesting one. I don't know that. I'm trying to think about this super quickly. Whether there's something where I like what they're saying, but not necessarily the music. I'm sure there is, and I'll probably.
And I feel the same. I'm sure if I racked my brain forever, I could probably. I don't know why. Rage Against the Machine. I guess their message. I dig their message. Musically, it doesn't really do much for me. Right. You know what I mean? But. And they've got a song or two that I enjoy, but sure. I'm with you. I'm sure if I racked my brain, there would be somebody. I mean, there's certainly bands that we've talked about this, where it's like, I don't like them. They don't appeal to me, but I do go back every now and again because I know how important they are or how good they are. You know what I mean? I think for a lot of people, I bet you, Dylan's voice keeps a lot of people away whose message would probably be right up their alley.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, and then you have, I think in some ways you have people, I think Cash can definitely do this, where his voice almost makes you feel it more than what he's actually saying.
It's also interesting because Johnny Cash is one of those who can sing about the religious stuff, have you singing along. Yeah. Even if you're not entirely religious.
Absolutely. Right? And again, he is, I am a huge Johnny Cash fan. I joke to some degree he is my Lord and Savior, and yeah, absolutely. Even his religious stuff, when the circle, that will be broken thing that he does with the Carter family and stuff like that. Like, man, I feel like I'm in church, but I also feel like I'm in church when I'm listening to him sing his other songs, the way it touches my soul.
I've got an example.
Okay, please.
I love the lyrics, hate the music.
Okay.
Speaking of Johnny Cash,
please.
He did a song with everyone's favorite band to hate, U2.
Oh.
Called The Wanderer. Not the same song that everybody knows, but I can't even remember what album it's on.
I think it was. I do know, because it's funny you just mentioned this, because I was just looking at this a couple of days ago. I think it's on more of a U2 thing than it is a Johnny Cash thing. It's more U2, right?
Because they played it at like one of his a televised event.
I think you're right.
Right?
Yes.
And they played live, and then they had like Johnny Cash's.
Because I think it was around that
when the movie came out.
Well, I think the zoo. Remember that? God, they're so full of themselves. Where they would turn the channel on a TV that was behind them, and then he was talking to the Pope and all that. Fuck, God, that guy drives me nuts. But yes,
so
I think it was around that era.
Song.
Please, yeah.
I love that song. I absolutely love that song. But I hate the fact that the music is U2. Not because it's U2, just because the song is kind of weak.
I feel you. His version of One, I can't stand.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I do not like it at all.
Yeah.
And I love Johnny Cash. I do not like his version of One, and I don't like U2's version of One. Yeah. Although Cash has also made me love Bruce Springsteen songs that I didn't know were Bruce Springsteen songs. I can't say
that even Mr. Johnny Cash has gone that far.
Oh,
I will certainly not like Bruce Springsteen.
Cash has done it twice. Hank Williams has done it once, where I didn't know they were. I had no idea they were Bruce Springsteen songs, and I heard their versions. I was like, "It's a great fucking song, man! I love this song." Highway Patrolman is one that Cash does. Atlantic City, the one that Hank 3 does, and then it was like, "Oh man, these are great songs." And then, what do you mean Bruce Springsteen wrote? Son of a bitch, So that and shows you the power of a voice sometimes, or the way that person sings.
Right.
I think those kind of things are very interesting. Along with Cash, I probably one of the more famous ones. Obviously, his version of Nine Inch Nails' "Hurt" is a one where it suddenly appeals to a lot of people who would never pick up a Nine Inch Nails record.
Right.
And while I do think his version is exceptional, there's no doubt about it. It's just, it can show you a personality too, right? A voice that carries personality and how you deliver it, right? He doesn't change much of the lyrics, crown of shit into a crown of thorns. Other than that, lyrics the same as the 20-year-old guy that wrote it. But he brings such a gravitas to it, and you have a history with Cash that I wouldn't say necessarily it changes the song, but it gives it a new meaning in a way, you know.
Well, I think it does kind of change it, you know, because it kind of turns from the angst that a younger person would feel to the pain and the burdens that an older person have carried with them their entire lives.
Certainly, as they're looking back and realizing time ahead is a lot shorter than time behind.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yes. Yeah. So, and even with all that, I mean, there are, I think, also great lyricists that have some incredibly goofy lyrics.
Oh, sure.
You know, I mean, famously, one that I love bringing up is, again, a person that I'll bring up many, many times throughout the duration of this podcast is
We are fans.
Leonard Anzalone.
Absolutely.
With the song Return of the Fly, where he literally just sings the cast, right? Like, he was probably holding like the movie box and said, all right, well, here goes. Take one.
Thank goodness these guys' names rhyme.
Yeah, exactly, right? And if not, I'll make it. Right.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, I think something like that, even though it's goofy in comparison to the other stuff he's written that I feel are better lyrics, you know, I think every so often a person gives themselves a little bit of a breather. You know?
Especially as in the horror punk genre, there's a little bit of room for essentially that's what we're going to do. This is a horror movie. Let's do the horror movie kind of, you know. I mean, certainly when the Misfits get back together with Michael Graves, like, you know, 90% of their material is pretty much just like, what's this movie called? Good, let's write about this movie. What's that movie called?
What's that movie called? Well, let's write about the other movie, but call it the name of the other movie. Yeah.
Pumpkinhead. Good enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, and again, in that genre, totally makes sense. You know, and again, it's nice to see an artist that can do both, because you're right. As we are major fans of Mr. Danzig, and yes, I mean, he is on my list of lyrics that I will tell you right now, like, touch me in ways I didn't know he could.
Yeah.
And then he's got others where it's cool, but it's silly too. You know.
Yeah.
You know, Juju Bone doesn't hit me as hard as, you know,
Or,
Tired of Being Alive.
That,
You know,
or Wicked Pussycat. Like, somehow they don't reach the heart strings like Sistina's or Blood and Tears will, you know.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, but that it also shows a range in an artist, which I can appreciate, you know what I mean? You know, back to like somebody like Dylan, obviously his early stuff, folk stuff was, you know, government. It was about the times. It was about racial inequality, so on and so forth. And he churned from that.
Yeah.
You know, Blonde on Blonde starts being more personal, and then he gets into Blood on the Tracks and stuff like. And it's like, whoa, what happened to our protest guy? And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of not done with it. Just I'm feeling something else right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And showed how adept he could be at doing that too. You know, I prefer his earlier stuff. He's a recent kind of get into in the last probably 5 or 6 years. But you know, I think another thing when I think about lyrics though too is like when you read stuff like. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's something I've read. I don't, you know, where you see stuff like apparently there are artists, U2 is one of them, so maybe we don't give this as much credence as we should, but they will write their lyrics, then cut the sentences out, and then move the sentences around.
Right, yeah.
Well, now it's just gibberish at this point. You know what I mean? You know, if the cat ain't on the hat and it don't rhyme, you know.
Famously, this is also the lyricist that, when counting off into a song, said 1, 2, 3, 14 in Spanish. So it's like, come on, guy.
He's probably drunk. Let's be honest, he's
Yeah,
Irish.
well, yeah.
But yes, no, I think of things like I remember reading Mars Volta. A lot of times they will lay down a basic track, and then the vocals will come in, and he will not have lyrics necessarily finished. So he kind of, if you will, scats over it, but with real words. And the other guy will come in to start laying down more stuff and say, hey, you know what? Actually, I know that word doesn't make any sense, but I like the sound of it with the music. Keep it.
I think that works with them because symbolism plays incredibly strong. Like it's a big factor in the lyrics, you know. So even if the word doesn't necessarily rhyme or if it doesn't make sense in the place, the context of the song and every other lyric in the song gives it meaning.
I don't disagree. I for sure. You know, I still don't know. You know why his can't remember what the kiosk is shaped like Rosalind Carter means, but I love yelling it when he sings it, you know. Somebody that kind of does that same thing, I remember being very confused by his lyrics, and so I heard somebody describe it in that way, is Monster Magnet. Big fan of him. Dave Windorf, I think, writes some really psychedelic, weird lyrics and shit, especially in the early days. And yeah, you read it and you go, that doesn't make sense. But I heard a guy saying, well, actually the words represent what he's trying to get across. And if you look at it that way, you go, oh, okay, interesting, you know, and that's a neat way to write lyrics, you know, and everybody's different approach to that, you know what I mean? But, you know, like I say, I for me, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, a riff is gonna get me every time, you know, a good tone is gonna get me every time over necessarily a voice. Yeah, you know?
I kind of look back to like the music of like Yob, Neurosis, where the music is great.
Yes.
But then I go back and read the lyrics, and it's not just the delivery of the lyrics either.
I hear you.
You know, when I go back and read some of the lyrics, it's like, goddamn, I didn't know people could get this deep.
That you're not wrong at all. Absolutely,
you know? And it tends to happen a lot where I think people kind of dismiss how introspective, like heavy music can be. You know?
Sure. Yes.
Stuff in the black metal scene and stuff, even in death metal. You know,
absolutely. Because
I remember when I first heard like Deicide, you know, of course I liked it because it was abrasive and loud and all that stuff.
Great way to say fuck you.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. Right. But then I went back and read the lyrics and I was like, oh, there's more than one way to say fuck Jesus, you know, or like fuck religion or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right. And of course they explored every single way.
All the facets have been seen. Yeah.
To this day. Right? And I keep coming back because I know that, you know, I'm not saying that Glenn Benton is one of the top lyricists of the world.
No. But I know
he gets his message across.
The way he articulates it isn't. It's also in many of the songs, at least in my experience with Deicide, it's also not like it's not dumbed down either.
Right.
You know, it's like you said, he's articulating it in a way that isn't just like God sucks, Jesus is a whore, you know, like he's really putting it out there. I mean, talking about he thinks it's brainwashing, he thinks it's this, you know, you follow a cult leader, you know what I mean? So yeah.
So I when you mentioned that they're the cherry on top, I kind of look at it as they're part of the bread mix.
Okay,
When making that cake.
Sure.
Or the sugar that goes into the frosting.
Right on.
You know.
I am your neighbor. Lend me some sugar.
You know, and you know, going back to like Danzig, one of the first things that I heard, the song "Last Caress," right? It starts off with, you know, I've got something to say, which already kind of hooks you,
right?
Because you're wondering, what's this youngster got to
I'm
say?
Listening, yes.
You know, and then he goes on and says some of the wildest shit
absolutely
at that time,
sure.
Right? And yeah, you know, it's a catchy song and all that. It's simple 3-chord progression, and I think the way he's delivering, you know, what he's saying in the song, kind of make it stand out a lot more. You know, it's obviously very singable, sing-alongable, or whatever the word is now. But yeah, you know, the lyrics, I think, will eternally make a song a lot more enjoyable for me, you know?
And as somebody who doesn't play an instrument, that sometimes can be my connection, if you will, to the music, where I feel, you know, beyond just hearing great music, now I'm singing along in my car, you know, hopefully not out loud too much. But yeah, so there's definitely that. Again, even if I say that the music is, again, I hesitate to say more important, but if I'm rating them, it's by just a small little hair. You know what I mean? It's just to say, because I would also point out things like, how much music do you and I listen to, especially, that is in a language we do not speak?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
so I don't even know what you're saying. And a lot of times I don't even go into looking to see, because I almost don't want it ruined. Maybe it's not what I thought it was. You know what I mean?
Though, interesting you say that, because a band that I like a lot, Amin Ra.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're saying.
I gotcha.
I have to go and search the lyrics.
Gotcha.
Many times, you know, I don't understand what they're trying to sing, even when I know what he's saying. Right? Not necessarily because I don't understand the lines or whatever, but just like the emotion he's trying to put out. But I still enjoy it because I like being confused, and I like being left wondering, you know, and left to my imagination of like, all right, now you put these pieces together in your mind.
I gotcha.
And whatever you take of it, that's what it's going to be, which leads to the whole art can be whatever you want it to be.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's when bands of that nature that I don't know what their lyricists or their singers are actually saying. Yeah, like I like the fact that like, okay, now you have the imagination, put it to work.
Yeah. Well, especially a band as emotive as they are too. I think that's.
Sure. Yeah.
You've touched on this already, but yeah, you're right. It's sometimes it's how a person does it. That can one that comes to my mind is Nina Simone. I love Nina Simone.
Sure.
She has that song. It's in French, so pardon because I am going to completely fuck it up if I even try. So I won't. It's on her "I Put a Spell on You" album. In case anybody is looking for it, because I promise you won't miss it. It's the only one in French. I have no idea what she's saying.
Yeah.
It moves me every time, and it's just the way she delivers it. So I did finally, because I knew we were going to be talking about this, I did want to look it up. As much as part of me did not want to, like, great, it's a recipe for cookies, son of a bitch. You know what I mean? It's just her favorite cookies. No, I looking into it, it's a cover.
Okay.
A French guy wrote it of essentially a woman that she believed that he had impregnated her. She ended up having an abortion and never had anything to do with her ever again. So yeah, it was very happy
what
shit.
French guy who it was?
I for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. It wasn't somebody that I had ever heard of. I think it was his one hit.
Oh, okay.
Come to find out, this song has been remade many, many different times, including in English. But my only experience with it was Nina Simone. Okay. In fact, I heard it, the first time I heard it was a show, on HBO, The Leftovers. That show on, and they played it. That was the opening, the ending song on one of the episodes, and I was just like, "My God, what is this?"
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, "Well, that definitely sounds like Nina Simone. I got to look into this more, And so that, and again, I have no idea what she's saying, but every time I hear it, it breaks my heart, And now, of course, now that I do have an idea of what the song is about, it's interesting to think, like, wow, I didn't know what any of those words were. And yet, through her ability to sing it,
for sure, yeah.
And the music, obviously that music is gonna, it's a slow piano thing. The mood is set. Yeah. Whether you know what she's saying or not, there's no way you're walking away from that song and go, well, that's a cute little ditty.
There's the song "Gloomy Sunday."
Yes, again, yeah.
Tragic song.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
There's a version of that song done by Diamanda Gallis.
Mm-hmm.
Great fucking delivery, and I had already known about that song,
right,
so like the way she does it, it's not necessarily a version that I can like sing along to.
I hear you,
but the way she sings it and knowing what the lyrics are keep me frozen in place every time I hear it, and it's not necessarily the music or the performance,
right?
It's just the lyrics and the delivery.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. I mean, that, if I remember correctly, like Prague or something like that, originally where it was written, right? Yeah. It wasn't in English, and then I think Billie Holiday popularized it here in America, right? Yeah. Well, and then it brings me to another thing I find interesting when it comes to song lyrics is saying Billie Holiday, mainly because of misunderstanding of lyrics.
Oh yeah.
Or what she has the song "Strange Fruit."
Yeah.
FBI tried to ban it and so on and so forth because God forbid you remind white people of what they did to black people.
Sure.
But if you listen to that song and you didn't know the first time you heard it, like if you miss certain lyrics, you wouldn't know what she's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
And she's talking about black people being hung from trees and calling it strange fruit. You go, oh, like got it. Right.
Yeah.
The first time you hear it though, no, I have no idea,
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting place to explore in general is like the misunderstanding of lyrics or meanings of songs.
Yep.
It shows you how ambiguous it can be to the listener.
Sure.
Yeah,
is
that now as a lyricist yourself, is this something that matters to you?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So yes, because if I would love it if somebody could get what I'm trying to put out in the song directly.
Right, gotcha.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like if whether it's love, pain, whatever the hell, the happiness of having friendship, whatever it is I'm writing about.
I got you.
I would love for that to be received by the listener and understood to that effect.
Right.
But at the same time, depending on the project that I'm in,
Right.
you know, I do leave a lot of room for interpretation.
I got you.
You know, I was in a band called Death Kings,
Mm-hmm.
where all of those lyrics were incredibly personal to me.
Right.
Just singularly me.
I got you.
But I wrote them in a way that people could interpret, you know, them being about different things.
Mm-hmm.
And some people actually came up to me and said, "Hey, man, is this song about this particular subject?"
okay.
You know, and when I was asked that, I didn't really give them an answer because I wanted whatever they took out of it to be the reason they liked the song.
There's a lot of artists that do that, right? There's artists that definitely they're like, I do not want to explain my lyrics to people. Let people interpret it how they want to, you know?
Yeah, you know, and you know, I think, you know, for better or worse, I think now I'm able to kind of switch back and forth from like, here's directly what I'm trying to say. Like in the band I currently play in, the Sumerian,
Right.
You know, there's kind of no if, ands, or buts of what I'm singing now. It's pretty direct.
Neck
right?
breaker of the mountain, not a hidden tell of the government's taking of our.
No, not at all. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, nothing like that.
Because that's how I interpret it. I just wanted
Yeah, exactly. You know, so like, but I'm pretty sure I'll at some point I'll write lyrics where, you know, the meaning is a little more hidden
Right
in
on.
there, within there, you know, and if people can find it and get it, you know, hit the nail on the head,
I got you.
cool. I'm into that. I'm into people like tearing my lyrics apart and seeing what they find and what they come up with on their own and stuff like that. That's always interesting to me.
Very cool.
Because it lets me also know, like, well, these people are thinking about the song.
Yeah.
A lot, you know?
There's some kind of connection you're making to a
Exactly.
complete stranger, which is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
beautiful thing in general that music does.
Plus, the other thing with lyrics too is that, you know, I know a lot of people have said this in the past, and a lot of people still do this when listening to music. The actual tactile function of having the lyrics in front of you as you're listening to the music is another way of kind of enjoying the music a lot deeper.
I agree. Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
so I know we all go back and look at the pictures, see what T-shirts they're wearing,
Absolutely.
or what bands.
what
that
bands
they're
they think?
thanking.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you know, but on the same inserts, you have the lyric sheet, you know, so.
I was always bummed when you got the band that didn't do it.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
exactly,
yeah, for sure. And it's funny, you know, I think of a band like Tool, you know, for a long time they did not print their lyrics. And one of the reasons they said that was their feeling was like they can't be separated.
Right.
I want
Right.
them together. I don't want you concentrating on lyrics and not hearing the music. And I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
hey, motherfucker, I'd really like to know what you're saying too.
Awesome.
You know,
Don't tell
'cause-
me what to do, Tool.
Well, yes, you're not in charge of my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's my body. I do what I want. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's also the part where it's like, you know, if you want, like I personally, and maybe this is some of the reason I feel this way too, I am horrible at understanding lyrics. I mean, there is a long history of me reading lyrics and go, oh, son of a bitch, I had no idea. You know, but the biggest one I always think of, I don't know why this always comes to my mind, is Running with the Devil with Van Halen. And he says, I got no love, no love you'd call real. I thought for the longest time he was saying, I've got no love in Korea. I don't know why he didn't get love in Korea. I thought maybe it was one of those we're big in Japan kind of thing, but somehow we're not big in Korea. You know, I had no, believe me, I sang that every time in my head thinking, that doesn't make any sense, but hey, that's what he's saying. And then one day read it and went, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
I will eternally kiss this guy, and
Right.
I will also be wrapped up like a douche.
Yeah, well, again, I know if you really put deuce in your head, you'll hear deuce, but I think he says douche.
Is it wrapped up like a deuce or revved up like a deuce?
I think it's revved up like a deuce because he's describing a car.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I never even paid attention. Not that like
I
I know I'm sounding like a hypocrite.
No,
now,
no.
But like that's a song that I heard obviously as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of
Yeah,
that
no,
song.
no,
or whatever,
no,
you know.
no.
Like,
I
I'm
don't
not
have
gonna
my
go home and
Manford
put it
Man,
on.
cards. No.
Right, yeah. So like, you know, but whatever. But okay, that makes sense. You know, and obviously the Kiss the Sky is Kiss the Sky.
Yes.
But yeah, you know, so the misunderstanding also kind of
Oh, it can lead you down some,
some crazy rabbit holes.
I remember
right?
seeing Ozzy interviewed one time, and he said how, some guy came to him and said, "Is it true that you in Paranoid you tell people to take their life?" And he's like, and he says, I quickly have to do all the lyrics in my head because I don't have them memorized, which I thought, good thing we're not getting them as an older Ozzy. But he says, no, it's I tell you to enjoy life. I wish I could, but it's too late.
Right.
But
both work.
they absolutely work. And if you listen to it, you go, well, that would still make sense.
Yeah,
I could see where, so yeah, there's the misunderstood lyric, which is always, bathroom on the right from our beloved CCR,
Oh, yes.
which I still think is, I never heard that until I heard somebody say it. And now I feel like I cannot get it out of my head every time I fucking hear that great song, But how about even like misunderstood songs? I mean, there is a list of songs where, technically, I guess ultimately you are misunderstanding the lyrics.
Yeah.
But the song itself, you're clearly missing, I think the best examples that I can think of, obviously, to me, the biggest one is Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Of course, yes, yeah.
The song has nothing to do with your funeral. Nothing to do with telling you how beloved you are. In fact, it's exactly the opposite.
Something good happening in politics.
Yeah, it's none of that.
Unless it's about getting fucked by politics.
Absolutely,
right?
it's literally about the unrecorded love or love that is like just damaging to you, and his kind of the push and pull of this love that I want and the desire that I have for it, and how it's not was it David played a chord that pleased the Lord, but you don't care for music, do you? Like Jesus, man! All I ever learned from love was how to outdrew you. Like, wow,
yeah.
It tied you to your chair, cut your hair, But there's brilliance in it too when he, the minor with the major lift. He's telling you how the song's about to go, but all anybody hears is hallelujah, and we all know what that word means to us. So,
which also shows the I guess the surface level aspect of some listeners, where they play word recognition and that's all they do. Right.
Well, and again, it doesn't help that the music lifts as he's telling you in the lyrics it's about to.
Sure.
So it feels triumphant. It feels, and it's obviously, as anybody knows with Leonard Cohen, his mix of religion in his lyrics is epic.
Oh yeah.
So everything feels religious with him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Another great one, of course, is how many people get married to Every Breath You Take. Sting has said over and over again, it is a stalker song if there ever was one.
Yeah.
It is not about love.
They have their own version of love, I would say.
Sure.
But yeah, that's one that I always liked when like people would play it at their weddings.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm like, holy Jesus, like you fucking
run.
Yeah. Blink twice.
Right. Yes, I have something to say, Pastor. I don't think these two.
Yeah.
The other one, which I think is a very close cousin to that, is REM's "This One Goes Out to the One I Love."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fire. Like, guys, a simple prop to occupy my mind. Oh, you romantic, you.
Yeah.
Good God. And yet they hear and it's, again, in his voice. I'm not a huge REM fan, but he's got a great voice.
Sure.
He hits that chorus and it just lifts. And I think that's what people hear, and they go no further,
I wonder if anybody ever tried to dissect any of Anthony Kiedis's mumble songs. I wonder if he also does the thing that U2 is doing, where he cuts up the words and puts the,
I mean, he's obligated. I think every fifth word has to be California or something like that, right?
Point, yeah.
I'm pretty
he has
sure.
a deal with
the tourist board of California, I assume. I definitely don't pay attention.
If he doesn't, they're gonna send the bear on the flag after him.
He is not somebody I would not put him in my great lyricists. That's for sure, and it's not a band I care much for. My favorite quote from them is the Nick Cave one about I turn on the radio and I'm always hearing something horrible, and 9 times out of 10 it's something called the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
But I think that's again the power of music, right? Like, the music can overtake you in ways where you're not listening to what they're actually saying.
For sure.
That says a lot for music in a lot of ways. But it also shows the opposite, as we talked about, with songs that are in languages we do not speak, and yet we're still emotionally, struck by them. You know what I mean? And I think, so again, it's there's no right or wrong. You know, I just think that it's always interesting, and it's interesting when you look at, like I said, misunderstood lyrics or songs that are misunderstood. Because I just think it's, NFL honors every year they do it. One time, Hallelujah was their in memoriam. Yeah, just like Jesus Christ. You're just like, that word that you're using, I don't think you know what it means. This kind of thing. But I again, it just shows, to me, I find it beautiful because it is the power of music and how powerful, again, cross languages, cross, environments, cross, whatever we don't share, we seem to share this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it all seems to hit that group of people the same way. And I think that's beautiful in general.
What's something that I like doing that actually Amy turned me on to, going back to the misheard lyrics thing, not so much misheard, but I guess people just sing it this way. Twisted Sister was played in Mexico.
Oh, yes. Okay, please, go.
And they do what is it, the We're Not Gonna Take It?
Yes.
But they sing something else.
They sing something completely different, and he knows this now.
Yeah, he knows this. And they do the changed version.
Oh, I wish I could remember. I wish I was an easier way to look this up, because it is brilliant. There's a video of him saying to the crowd, so what I understand is you guys sing this, which means this, right? Yeah. And the whole crowd.
It's something kind of silly.
It really is. Yeah. And it's because they didn't know what he was saying, so they made up their own lyrics. And he goes, well, that's what we're doing. And they do it, and that's so
awesome. That's awesome that he plays into it.
Absolutely.
It's awesome because it's also fan service.
For sure.
To like the nth degree, right?
Absolutely.
I think
and he's not offended. He's not protective of his lyrics. Oh, man, how dare you? He sees it as what it is, which is praise. Like, it's literally, I don't understand what you're saying, but I love you and I love this song so much. I'll just make up my own lyrics so I can sing along and listen to this thing all the time.
Which I admit I do a lot because, again, we listen to a lot of music from other places. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those other places don't sing in the languages we recognize. Right. So when the vocal line sounds a lot like something I'm gonna think of, I'll stick to what I come up with, because again, that's what I'm taking out of this.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Well, I mean, the amazing thing of like Rammstein plays in America, and they've said it themselves, how blown away they are that now how many people out there are actually saying the lyrics, they don't know. But it sounds like they're saying the lyrics back to them. They're certainly doing the enunciation in a way that
there should be lines drawn. There's vocalizing, and then there's mush mouthing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yes.
Mush mouthing is just because you're not even going to try.
Oh, no.
Right?
No, yeah, no.
Which I also admit sometimes I do.
There's plenty. There's plenty where I know the first part and I don't know the second part, but I'm singing.
Yeah, you hear me drop in volume.
Yeah, for sure.
And the band playing.
Something with the finger. And then we go to the chest. Yes, for sure. Yeah. So, do you have lyrics that you would count among some of your favorites?
Yes. So, I mentioned like Sistina's before. But I love that song.
A fantastic song.
It's a song about suicide. It's a song where we don't know what a Sistina's is, but it does reference Sistine, which is angelic. So I kind of always likened it to like, this is you're in the act of, and the last thing that you come across is something angelic, whatever it is.
All right.
Whatever angelic means to you, that's
I
what
gotcha.
the last thing. But the take my hand, you'll never find another quite like mine.
Yeah.
Like that's, fuck, man. Especially when you're a youngster and in all this emotional chaos already, and the world already hates you, and your dickies don't quite fit the same they used to. Or
you
whatever.
Feel outside, and and let's be honest, talking to girls, how do I do this? How do I, and then it's like here's super romantic friends, guy there. Yeah.
And you listen to something like this, and you're like, oh man, this guy gets me. This buff Guido from New Jersey gets me,
Well, isn't that you talk about the buff Guido from New Jersey? Like, we certainly see it out here, and people know of this, but in Los Angeles, you see it. I know he's a pariah now, and I understand why, but the Morrissey to Latino men connection.
Dude,
right?
Yes.
Like that, I there needs to be a true study done about this, because I think it is so. I mean, this is something I didn't find out till like high school, and it just there could, in some ways, on surface,
Yeah.
what could be more opposite? And yet, he somehow connects
It
to
is.
Latinos in a way, certainly here in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
that is undescribable.
I've gone to parties in the past
Mm-hmm.
where Morrissey or the Smiths played, and cholos
Oh, dude.
start crying.
Dude, I went to the swap meet nearby my house, and it was a cover band.
Yeah.
And dudes that go to that place, there are definitely some you're like, I am not fucking with that guy.
Yeah.
And then Morrissey, and they start playing those Morrissey Smith songs. You're absolutely right. Suddenly, who is this dude?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still not gonna fuck with him. I'm just saying I might have a chance to run at this point because, yeah, it's and again, the power of music, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is that attachment? I
But
love
see,
that.
and even with that, like, yes, they dance along,
Mm-hmm.
but what I always get is that they're singing along.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. They know
Singing
every
along.
word.
Every single word. Every single goddamn word.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
I'm not gonna lie.
Please.
Anytime How Soon Is Now comes on, I think back like, man, that's a fucking solid ass jam right there.
Now, let me be completely upfront. I am not a Smiths. I am not a Morrissey fan.
Yeah.
I know very little of their catalog in general. You could play me stuff. I would recognize his voice, but I wouldn't recognize necessarily songs. But to your point, what I definitely know is these lyrics that he's putting out are very personal for the most part, right?
Sure,
I mean,
yeah,
it's sad boy. It's I'm lonely.
Sad boy,
Things
I'm
are not.
lonely.
Life doesn't go the way I want. That sort of thing, and very personal. And you go, here's a guy that's 3,000 miles away, white guy growing up in England, but what he's talking about, some dude in L.A. growing up in East L.A.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
Latino community, his Catholicism, all the things that
Yeah,
come
all
with,
the things, yeah,
and
yeah.
yet, oh my God, it's like he's speaking to me. What?
The last one I remember that I heard from him back in the in the K-Rock days
Mm-hmm.
was the Last of the Gang to Die,
Okay.
which I don't necessarily know what kind of gang it is, but when I heard it, I could very easily place the lyrics and put it in a situation where it was like, a hood kid from East LA or
Okay.
from South LA. you
Okay.
know? And in that context, it made sense, and I could see why somebody would grasp on, hold on to it and be like, yeah, this means a lot,
It's such a phenomenon.
It
It
is,
really is
especially
amazing.
when you consider the source. it's
Yes!
like, yeah, and I mean,
Well,
at this point, racist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially what it's become. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, it just one of those ones that it blows my mind every time I think about it. And when I've introduced people to it, where I've told them like, "Oh no, you didn't know what?" Like, yeah. Even some guys I work with who are Hispanic who don't know this, and I go, "Really? You've never you don't know anybody?" No, I've never seen it. And I'm like, "Dude, you can." There was a guy I remember at a job I had. I could just tell by the way. I could tell by the way the kid dressed. His low top Doc Martens,
Yeah.
a little bit of a pompadour, and I was like, "There's no doubt in my mind that kid is a more." One day he showed up with a jacket, had a little Morrissey button on. I was like, "There it is."
Well, I'll tell you this. I drove back from Chicago back to LA, and this was at the time early 2000s.
I gotcha.
So I had a little bit of a pompadour, I had long sideburns, black shirt, Dickies with Chuck Taylors,
Uh-huh.
and I would crease them up at the bottom. So the entire fucking ride home, anywhere we stopped for gas, hey man, you like the Smiths? And I'd be like, why are you asking me this shit? Like, what about me makes it?
You are wearing the uniform, my
Yeah,
friend.
exactly. And they're like, well, you just kind of look like the.
No.
And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they're all right, whatever. But yeah, even we took Route 66 that time.
Right on.
But yeah, like it was weird that every time we would stop somewhere, I would get asked. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, what do you know that I don't? Like, like, what am I? Did I not go to a Mexican meeting? Like, come on.
You missed one finally.
Yeah, exactly. Right? This fucker's always early, with the tortillas and the. But yeah, it's a crazy phenomenon.
It is. But back to where we started with lyrics that mean something, along with your Danzig one. For me, the two that have always stood out. One from Tired of Being Alive from Danzig 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tough guy kind of puff out your chest lyric, but I also think there's more to it than that too. Yeah. Is when he says, never easy and never clean to be the beast among human sheep.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember hearing that in high school, and it just, as a kid who kind of felt different than everybody else because he liked stuff that, for those who, I went to a private Christian school. Danzig wasn't exactly popular at that school, and the liking of it definitely was not something that was popular. So, you felt like a bit of an outsider as a metal fan, and that kind of, it symbolized to me, not I'm going to kill you because I'm so tough and badass, but like, I will not conform. Yeah. I'm the beast among you human sheep who just go along with the program, and I refuse to do that. I'm going to forge my own path to some degree. Yeah. The other one that always did it for me as a Danzig fan, and again, as you and I are, it's one of our many things we share, but Danzig is a love affair that has lasted a very long time for the both of us, is Going Down to Die. Yeah. When he says, till the coin that I pass to the ferryman's grasp lets me leave my pain behind. Like, fuck, man. The first time I heard that that's off of Danzig 4, just crushed me. In such a, but it's poetry. It's absolute poetry. It's such a beautiful picture.
You know what I like? I like singular lines. Danzig 4 has the song "Brand New God," where he famously says, "And that should know me."
Yes, dirty with his blood. Oh,
shit like that always fucking grabs me, and it's like, dude, do you get it? And I'm like, yes, I do.
And it's like,
tell me more.
It's so metal and also bluesy, which are two things he likes. Blue, you know what I mean? It's like, my hands are dirty with his blood, on your killing floor kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that great lyric.
Going back to like the Misfits.
Yes.
A song like "Comeback," which I don't know how many people like that song. I happen to love it.
It's a great song. Yeah.
But when it says, I think you realize what I've done while in the corner stepped my horrible corpse. It's kind of like, there's pain in there.
Yeah, oh.
Like there's pain in there. And I know that song has long been rumored to be about like The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. But he's somehow injecting his own pain into that song.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
His regrets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking...
Well, when we were just talking about just recently, Angel Fuck.
Yes.
We were listening to it on the way home a couple weeks ago, and talking about like it's almost like his Roxanne.
Yes.
That's certainly what I take from it. I think we were both talking. That's kind of what we got from it. And it's for his age to write something like that kind of makes some sense.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe there's a lyric that somebody out there likes, or actually, do you like music before lyrics or lyrics before music? If you care, let us know.
Please.
And if you like lyrics, what's a lyric that touches you a little bit deeper than others, and why? Let us know. But yeah, thanks for checking out the show, and we'll catch you next time.
Right on.
Hey folks, if you have any comments, questions, or just want to yell at us for any of the takes we've displayed so far, you can email us at therehearsalroompod@gmail.com. All one word together, therehearsalroompod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at therehearsalroompod or on Facebook at The Rehearsal Room.